Okay, in this video we're going to talk about what is distributive. Okay, if we use manipulatives as we think about what is distributive, let's write down our original expression, which is 3 times the quantity x plus 2. Alright, this is another way of saying this would be to say that I need 3 rows of what's in the parentheses. Alright, so let's model x plus 2. This is x, and that's plus 2. So this is a modeling of x plus 2. So if I did 3 rows of that, then I would have this. Here's the second row of x plus 2. Here's the third row of x plus 2. So if I add up everything that I have total now, I have 3 x's, or 3 green rectangles. I have 6 positives, or 6 yellow squares. So another way to write that would be to say 3x plus 6. Now, when I distribute something, what I do is I share it or give it to more than one thing. So if I want to go back and look at the abstract model rather than the concrete, which is what our manipulatives are, I could say, well, I need to distribute my 3 to both x and 2. So I need to, in essence, hand a 6 to x and a 3 to x and a 3 to the 2. And a number in a parenthesis side by side, of course, mean to multiply. So I'm going to take and I'm going to say 3 times x is 3 x's, and 3 times 2 is 6. So I get exactly the same thing. So let's model another one just using the abstract concept. Let's say 5 times x minus 4. So remember, think about this. That would be 5 rows of x minus 4. So 5 times x is 5x. 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. Now, notice that the real name for this property is the distributive property of multiplication with respect to addition. In other words, I can write everything as a multiplication and division problem. Okay? So I'm multiplying the 3, but I'm respecting the addition that's inside the parentheses. Now, and you may say this is subtraction, but this also could be thought of as plus a minus 4. This could be 5 parentheses x plus negative 4. Now, another way to think about distributive is think about the number. Think about what 6 times 4 plus 6 times 3. What does that look like? Well, in this case, I could look at this and kind of undo a distributive property if I wanted to, and think of this as being, well, that's the same thing as I've distributed the 6 to both the 4 and the positive 3. So this would actually be the same thing as saying 6 times 4 plus 3, which is 7, and 6 times 7 is 42. See, notice that I had a 6 in both, so that meant that I had distributed the 6 to both of these numbers. So that 6 is the number that goes outside the parentheses because it's a part of each product. Okay, let's look at another example. 7 times 8 plus 7 times 5. Okay, so I have 7 distributed to 2 things. So I can take my 7 and it goes outside the parentheses, and then 8 plus 5. Now, I could look at this and say, okay, which is really easier? It depends on what you like to do. For example, over here I could have said, well, using order of operations, with my original expression, I could have said 6 times 4 is 24. I could have said 6 times 3 is 18 and added the two together. But it looked to be much easier to rewrite it as a distributive problem. So 4 plus 3, I could go ahead and do the addition and then multiply, and I have a small number, which is 42. But here I have to get 24 and then add 18, which may pose more of a problem to me in my mind rather than doing 6 times 7. Now, in this problem it's a little bit different. It depends on whether or not you like to multiply or are comfortable multiplying or adding. So here you could do 7 times 8 is 56 plus 3 times 7 is 35. And I could add those two products together and get the exact same answer that I would get if I did 8 plus 5 is 13, and then 7 times 13, so 7 times 3 is 21, 7 times 1 is 7, and 2 is 9. So 7 times 13 is 91. Now again, go back and look and see that you also have the 24 plus the 18 originally, and 8 plus 4 is 12. Carry your 1. 2 plus 2 is 4. So we can check our math to make sure that we've done the correct thing. Likewise over here, I have 7 times 8 is 56 plus 7 times 5 is 35. So then I have 56 plus 35. 6 and 5 is 11. Carry your 1. 5 and 3 is 8, and 1 is 9. So I get 91 for both. So it's correct. So just remember, when you think about distribute, think about giving it to everything inside the parentheses. One of the things that I think of is when I pass out a test, if I have 4 desks, I'm going to distribute a test to each desk, or I'm going to give a test to each student and put one on each desk. So distribute whatever's outside the parentheses times everything inside the parentheses. The distributive property.